Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm going to be refuting Paul's claim. I think, first of all, I think, Paul, you did a great job. I think you absolutely did a phenomenal job in your debate. I think we just have some slight differences to help us reach different conclusions in our argument, but I'm going to be refuting the claim that the United States and NATO allies should use force in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. First of all, that's my view is a tad nuanced. I am under the belief that you could probably find sufficient evidence to suggest that Russia has violated international law in their invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine, granted, is a sovereign nation. They've been a sovereign nation for a while. They're an established independent country. That has recognized borders and has the right to maintain them. However, I do think, though, that the conclusion that the way to solve this conflict is for NATO and U.S. involvement is misguided. And the reason I believe that is misguided is the West has done a lot to instigate the Russian response. And I know that's probably unpopular with a lot of people. I am in no means a Russian sympathizer. I by no means support Vladimir Putin. However, I think we would be intellectually dishonest with ourselves if we support the narrative that the United States and NATO have been completely kind of on the sidelines and did not encourage the Russian invasion. NATO kept expanding eastward into prior kind of Russian areas that were controlled at one point, and Ukraine was threatening to join. This had been going on for a few years, again, my source for this is just general media, right? This was a general narrative that there was potential under Ukrainian leadership to potentially join NATO. And this was definitely, I think everyone could agree, a factor in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Now, I'm not arguing that's a good move by Russia, but what I am arguing is we do need to acknowledge that the West has had some involvement in the instigation of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, basically drawing out Russia in a way to invade Ukraine because, again, Ukraine was threatening to join NATO. The way I look at it is this: if China was going to try to poach Mexico, a bordering country, and become allies with them or have them join an international institution that was basically very anti the United States goals and diplomacy, I think you would see the United States do the exact same thing. I don't know if they would do it via the same medium, but I think that they would eventually try to create regime change, which is what Russia is doing in Mexico. But in this case, obviously, that's the hypothetical scenario. In this case, we see it in Ukraine. Now, again, I understand if you disagree with this, but I'm big on the assumption that that was the instigator of the war. So that is why I disagree that NATO and U.S. involvement is the solution. I actually think it's the problem with this whole conflict. I think that I at one point did support an aid of Ukraine because I basically thought, hey, Russia, this is basically a country that we do not want to control that territory. I, however, think, though, that we've continued to aid Ukraine, and we have seen some progress, right? They've gained some territory, they've lost some territory. I think the intelligence there is a little bit iffy as in regards to how accurate the information we get is to actually who's winning. I really don't know. I think it's kind of a stalemate there, right? And we've kind of seen some weaknesses from Russia that's supposed to be this great army, and they've had some equipment struggles and things like that. So, but at the end of the day, I don't think that U.S. involvement and NATO involvement can fix a problem that they started. I think that the NATO and the U.S. have an agenda, and I think that agenda is contrary to Russia's. So I think that if we step in, which we already have, I mean, people think that NATO isn't directly involved. Sure, they're maybe not using a force directly, but again, NATO has been maybe not the organization itself, but countries involved in NATO have contributed in ways to help the war effort in Ukraine. That has been part of the thing. That's a separate debate for whether or not, again, we should do that or not. But as far as using direct force, I don't think that's a proper solution. Again, I think you made some great points in your debate. We just have that slight disagreement. I actually do agree, again, that it was probably illegal for Russia to do what they did internationally. I think most wars are probably illegal, right? I mean, again, Ukraine's a sovereign nation, kind of, and they did not themselves instigate it, right? My whole argument relies on, hey, it was more of the West, the narrative that having Ukraine join NATO would be a thing. I think that scared Russia, kind of provoked them to attack. And again, that's not a justifiable reason for Russia to do what they did, but that is for my argument, we do have to acknowledge that that's probably the line of reasoning that Russia is using to basically give themselves a reason to launch this attack. So overall, I think you did a great job in your debate, Paul. We just have some slight disagreements. So please let me know if you have any questions, and I encourage you to disagree back. Thank you.